Marta, thank you so much for being here with us today. So you are going to be presenting during the financial planning track at the Morningstar Investment Conference on personalization at scale. And that can sometimes mean a lot of different things to different people. So let's start with, what does personalization mean?
I think it's a really critical question, because I think personalization could become something of a buzzword and not have a strong definition around it. And when I think about personalization, and when I think about what I'm hearing other people say about personalization, I think it's really talking about building workflows and portfolios that meet individual client needs and the advisor's business. So it's a way to have scale, but doing it in a way that you're thinking about the individual and building for the individual. And so it's a real shift in mentality from a world where for so long everything was standardized, whether you're thinking about mutual funds or ETFs or workflows or reporting. It was one size fits all. And now we're getting to the point where technology has progressed and we're able to do many sizes for many different people.
Would you say technology is kind of the only thing driving this shift in the conversation about why we're now talking about personalization? Or is it also sort of what consumers are getting and expecting from tools in other areas of their life?
Yeah, so I would argue that it's a bit of demand and supply. So certainly technology is far more powerful than it has been for the past 20 years. And so we're able to do things. And we see that in all areas, not just in finance. We see that with Amazon. We see that with, anything that we're doing online that we didn't used to do online. So certainly technology has gone leaps and bounds and made things possible that weren't previously possible. But I also think that there's a bit of a demand expectation, because as we've been able to be more customized and more efficient and more seamless in other areas of our lives, we expect the same from our financial experience, from our financial advisor. And so I think there's a bit of a demand asking for that personalization, for that no foam latte within their financial portfolios.
So, there are 101 different ways we can go with this, and advisors have 101 different things going on. So what does this look like tangibly, both for the advisors to deliver personalization and from the client's perspective?
So I think it can look differently for different financial advisors, depending on what their focus is, whether they're financial planning, financial advisors, whether they're more focused on the investment piece. But the way I've seen things develop is that this really touches every element of a financial advisor's workflow. So if we start at the beginning and we think about understanding who the client is, and that whole very nascent trust building conversation, the understanding the client's risk profile, understanding their holistic financial profile by seeing all their accounts together, seeing kind of who they are from a behavioral standpoint, what their goals are, and assessing those goals in a really technology savvy and consistent way can help create much more tailored portfolios. And within portfolios themselves, we have capabilities. I know first and foremost for so many people is going to come something like direct indexing, where you're able to offer index-like exposure, but with personalized tax management, with personalized values or preferences built into those portfolios, and then ultimately watch the client's behavior over time and assess how that client is doing through the use of technology and know when you need to stage some sort of intervention. Then finally, from a distribution and reporting element, I think there's technology that can do that at scale on a personalized basis, client by client, in a way that we've never seen before.
So, Marta, as you're talking, I love technology. I started one of the first completely virtual financial planning firms back in 2013. I love efficiencies. And I know one of the biggest challenges with that is shiny object syndrome. So as you're talking about all these different pieces of the client experience, and we know as far as technology has come, especially in financial services, it still has a ways to go, and especially when we think about integration. So what are some of the pitfalls? Because this is all very exciting, and I think advisors want to deliver that personalization, but how do they also make sure they don't get that shiny object syndrome?
Yep. So I think there's a few pitfalls advisors need to be aware of. I think one of them is just that buyer beware, element, that there's a lot of different technology, a lot of new entrants into the space. Some do it better than others. And this is, that same kind of awareness that we need to have whenever we are adapting a new practice and evaluating how we're going to partner with different folks. So certainly buyer beware. I also think that we can get caught up in and having fun new toys and forget that this is ultimately a relationship business. And while you can have all the capabilities in the world, ultimately you need to be focused on your client and understand who they are in a very personal manner. So I think that's another element to it. So I would point to those two pieces, that understand the technology, do your due diligence, but also remember that you're the linchpin that brings us all together, and you're ultimately serving a human being, and that relationship that you have is going to drive success at the end of the day.
So let's go a little deeper on that, because really at the end of the day, and Morningstar's whole philosophy is around empowering investor success. So what do investors ultimately stand to gain by advisors really going down this personalization route?
Yeah, so this is where I'm most passionate about, because I think the idea that putting investors first is actually about driving better client outcomes, helping clients and investors get to their end goals and live the lives that they want to live. And so what we want to do as we think about personalization is not just thinking about building a better business model, having scale for the advisor, but thinking, how does this improve what the investor actually experiences? And one of the things that really resonates with me, especially when it comes to the investment piece, is what we need to do is really improve investor behavior. Investor behavior is one of the biggest enemies that all of us face when we enter the financial markets and making poor decisions at the wrong time with the wrong information, and ultimately falling short of the goals that we might have for ourselves. So I think the critical piece is this idea that you are taking investors who have been primarily focused on experiencing a certain type of return or beating the market, and you are turning them inward and telling them to focus instead on a goal that you've well specified through this kind of personalization effort, thinking about tax management alongside of, a focus on returns, thinking about the values that they're implementing in their portfolios. And so you're taking this single myopic focus on return and you're shifting it to goals, and you're shifting it to dual mandates. And so you have both of those that you're keying off of to make decisions. And I think that can help investors ultimately stay the course and have better financial outcomes at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much. So again, you're going to be presenting at the Morningstar Investment Conference coming up on May 16th to 18th in the financial planning track on personalization at scale. So what are some of the other best parts of the Morningstar Investment Conference?
What are the best parts of the Morningstar Conference? Well, I've been at Morningstar since December of 2005, so I have attended a lot of Morningstar conferences. But I think that this year's conference will be especially valuable to me because we have been remote for so long, and so many of us have not had a chance to interact with our peers and share ideas and just be in the same room as one another. So I'm really looking forward just to see the buzz and the feel of the exchange of ideas in person. I've often liked a lot of the speakers that Morningstar brings in. There's a lot of industry experts and thought leaders, and getting a chance to hear directly from them and maybe even pestering them with questions afterward. I think that can be a really fun time.
Another question that I often get asked as a speaker, and Marta, you've done all kinds of different speaking, is what do you do to calm your nerves before you get on stage?
Sure. So I think that one thing anyone who is maybe new to public speaking should know is that even if you've done many, many presentations, you are still nervous before you present. So I would never try to argue that I don't get nervous before a presentation. But I think there's a few things that I do. One is I prepare as much as I possibly can. I think preparation is key. But then once I'm there, once I'm at the panel or at the presentation, I kind of let it go. And I just let it happen the way it happens. I take a look at the audience. I see all the individuals there. I know how interesting it would be to speak to them one-on-one. And so I just kind of calm down from just kind of living in the moment rather than keying and thinking through every little piece that I'm going to say.
Fabulous. Live in the moment. So last question, Marta, there are a lot of people watching this that don't know you personally, but what is something that maybe not a lot of people do know about you?
Okay, fair enough. So I'm kind of a plain vanilla person. Work at a big company. I'm a mother with 3 kids. I live in the suburbs. So not too much exciting stuff there. But I will say that I'm a bit more of a risk taker than I think people would think at first glance by looking through my bio. So just one example, I have gone bungee jumping at Victoria Falls in Africa. I have done a number of other excursions through Africa, through camping trips, through Israel. And so I just like to have my kicks when I can get them, which of course is a little bit less frequent now with the 3 little ones at home.
That is fantastic. And I have been to Victoria Falls. It's absolutely stunning. Been to Israel, all amazing places. And anytime anybody gets a chance to travel, the world reopening, take that chance. Marta, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I have to sit on the edge and then just not lean forward.
We're totally going to have. We good? Everyone's like, yes, great.
Here we go.
Are you Twittering it?